Princess Anne finally breaks silence on why Prince Philip left the Queen. For decades, the question of why Prince Philip once distanced himself from Queen Elizabeth II has remained a profound mystery without a clear answer. The public has only known the beautiful images of their relationship, a steadfast love, enduring the immense pressures of the throne. However, recently, Princess Anne, their only daughter and a first-hand witness to the highs and lows of their relationship, has finally broken her silence. Her revelations are not only shocking, but also force us to re-examine this seemingly perfect royal marriage through an entirely new lens. Why did Prince Philip choose to distance himself from the wife admired by the world? Could there be heartbreaking stories hidden behind the ancient walls of Buckingham Palace that no one was ever meant to know? Join us as we delve into the stunning details Princess Anne has just revealed and uncover the truth concealed for so many years. Prince Philip was born on June 10, 1921. He was the only son and the fifth child of Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark and Princess Alice of Battenberg. His father hailed from Greek royalty, being the fourth son of King George I of Greece and Queen Olga. His mother came from British and German nobility. She was the eldest daughter of Louis Mountbatten, the first Marquess of Milford Haven, and Victoria Mountbatten. His family background made him a prince of both Greece and Denmark. Despite this noble heritage, Philip's childhood was fraught with challenges. His family faced political instability and personal hardships. After a period of exile, they settled in Suresnes, a quiet suburb near Paris. They lived in a house provided by Philip's aunt, Princess George of Greece and Denmark. Life in exile was difficult, but the family strove to adapt. Philip was sent to the Elms, an American school in Paris. He excelled academically and was known for his intelligence and courtesy. By 1930, Philip's life took another significant turn. At just 9 years old, he moved to the United Kingdom. There he lived with his maternal grandmother at Kensington Palace. He also spent time with his uncle George Mountbatten at Linden Manor in Bray, a tranquil area in Berkshire. He began attending Cheam School, a respected institution. During these years, Philip's life grew even more unstable. His four sisters married German princes and moved to Germany. His mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia and admitted to an asylum. His father left for Monte Carlo and became estranged from family life. These events left young Philip without a stable home, and he grew up with little contact with his parents. In 1933, Philip was sent to Schule Schloss Salem, a progressive school in Germany. The school was founded by Kurt Hahn, an educator with strong ideals. As the Nazi Party rose to power, Hahn, who opposed them, fled the country. Philip left the school after 2 terms and followed Hahn's educational vision to Scotland, enrolling at Gordonstoun School, which Hahn had established. Gordonstoun offered a rigorous but character-building environment. The school emphasized discipline, outdoor life, and resilience. It became a formative place for Philip, shaping his values and sense of responsibility. Although born in Greece, Philip never spoke Greek fluently. His time there was so brief that the language never became part of his life. He understood some of it, but primarily spoke English. Over time, he grew closer to his Danish roots and identified more with British culture. His upbringing reflected a blend of cultures and languages, making him adaptable and resilient. His childhood was marked by constant change, but it prepared him for the public life he would later lead. Despite family difficulties and upheaval, Philip remained focused on his education and personal growth. These years, though sometimes lonely, gave him the strength and independence that would define his character. His future role in the British royal family began to take shape during these years. In 1934, Philip first met Princess Elizabeth. They crossed paths at a royal wedding when his cousin, Princess Marina of Greece, married Elizabeth's uncle, the Duke of Kent. At the time, Philip was a teenager, and Elizabeth was still a young girl. Their real connection began 5 years later in 1939 when Elizabeth visited the Royal Naval College in Dartmouth. Philip was training there as a naval cadet. He stood out immediately, full of energy and confidence, impressing those around him. Elizabeth, only 13 at the time, found him intriguing and exciting. That visit sparked a bond that deepened through letters and occasional meetings. Philip had a bold, straightforward demeanor. He was energetic, honest, and possessed a sharp sense of humor. These qualities set him apart from many in royal circles. Elizabeth, more reserved and thoughtful, seemed drawn to this contrast. Over time, their friendship blossomed into love. Despite their different backgrounds, they complemented each other well. They maintained contact during the war years, exchanging letters that kept their connection alive, despite the distance and demands of their roles. As their bond grew stronger, challenges emerged. Philip's background raised concerns among some royal advisors. He was foreign-born, had no steady income, and his sisters were married to German nobles with ties to the Nazi Party. This caused unease, particularly in the years immediately following World War II. Doubts arose about whether he was the right match for Elizabeth. Even within the royal family, not everyone supported the relationship. Some believed Philip lacked the status and background expected of someone who would marry the future queen. Nevertheless, Elizabeth remained resolute. She had made her decision. In 1946, Philip proposed to her, and she accepted. They kept the engagement private until Elizabeth turned 21 the following year. When it was finally announced, it became a major event. Their romance captured the public's imagination, and their engagement brought excitement and hope to Britain. After years of war and hardship, people were eager for a story of love and renewal. On November 20th, 1947, they were married at Westminster Abbey. The ceremony was grand and steeped in tradition. It was also the first royal wedding to be broadcast on television, watched by millions. It became a symbol of recovery for a nation still healing from the effects of World War II. Philip renounced his Greek and Danish titles, adopted the surname Mountbatten, and was made the Duke of Edinburgh. From that day forward, he fully embraced his new role in British life, standing beside Elizabeth as her partner. After the wedding, life began to unfold. For Philip, this marked the beginning of an entirely new phase. He had stepped into a world shaped by royal customs and expectations, something he had never fully experienced before. Elizabeth, by contrast, had grown up with these rules. She had always known she would one day become queen. Her path had been clear from childhood, carefully prepared for leadership. For Philip, joining the royal family meant entering a world where he had to learn quickly and adapt even faster. The early years of their marriage were filled with change. From 1949 to 1951, they lived in Malta, where Philip served in the Royal Navy. Those years offered a rare sense of peace and normalcy. Life in Malta was quieter, more relaxed, and far from public scrutiny. There were no constant duties or crowds watching their every move. For the first time, they could live like an ordinary couple, enjoying time together with a freedom they would rarely experience again. Unfortunately, that peaceful chapter ended in 1952. Elizabeth's father, King George VI, passed away suddenly, and everything changed. Elizabeth became queen at just 25 years old, and the weight of the crown fell heavily on her shoulders. With her new role came immense responsibility, and the quiet life they had enjoyed vanished almost overnight. Along with the royal title came a contentious debate. What name would the royal house carry now that Elizabeth was queen? Traditionally, a woman would take her husband's surname. Following this, there were suggestions that the royal house should be renamed Lord Mountbatten. Philip's uncle proposed the name House of Mountbatten. Philip himself supported the idea of calling it the House of Edinburgh, based on his title as Duke of Edinburgh. However, these ideas were swiftly rejected. Queen Mary Elizabeth's grandmother ensured that Prime Minister Winston Churchill was aware of her views. Soon, Elizabeth was advised to formally declare that the royal house would remain the House of Windsor. This decision deeply upset Philip. He felt overlooked and powerless in a world that prioritized tradition over personal connection. He was not even allowed to pass his name to his children. Though he rarely spoke about it publicly, it clearly troubled him. It was not until 1960, just before the birth of their third child, Prince Andrew, that a change was made. Elizabeth issued an order in council declaring that any of their male line descendants who were not royal princes or princesses would carry the surname Mountbatten-Windsor. It was a subtle but significant change that allowed Philip's name to be recognized within the family line. This shift followed months of correspondence and debates, particularly from a constitutional expert, who warned that without this change, the royal children could be seen as illegitimate. Prime Minister Harold Macmillan pushed back against these claims, but ultimately the Queen made the decision. Soon after becoming Queen, Elizabeth ensured that Philip's place by her side was acknowledged. She declared that he would hold a position of honor and importance beside her in all official matters, unless the law specifically stated otherwise. She also arranged for him to serve as regent for their son Charles should anything happen to her while he was still a child. Parliament passed this into law in 1953. Despite public speculation about their marriage, Elizabeth and Philip remained closely connected. Their bond was strong even during challenging times. They supported each other through every obstacle that came with life on the throne. Years later, during her Diamond Jubilee in 2012, Elizabeth spoke about how much Philip had meant to her. She described him as a constant, steady presence through decades of public service. Philip's role as consort was demanding, yet he carried it with dignity and commitment. He accompanied the Queen to major events, including the opening of Parliament's worldwide formal state dinners and countless official visits. One of his most notable contributions was during the Queen's coronation. As chairman of the Coronation Commission, he oversaw key details of the event and even became the first royal family member to fly in a helicopter visiting troops involved in the ceremony. Though he was not crowned himself, he took a solemn oath to fully support Elizabeth, pledging his loyalty in the grand ceremony. In 1953 and 1954, the Queen and Philip undertook a 6-month tour of the Commonwealth, representing the crown across nations. Their children, still very young, remained in Britain. This was a common tradition at the time, though it carried emotional costs. Still, the tour strengthened the Queen's role and Philip's support in the public's eyes. Prince Philip received an official annuity from 1990 amounting to £359,000 per year to cover his duties and expenses. This allowance was unaffected by newer financial reforms that impacted other areas of royal spending. Every penny went toward his official responsibilities, and any unused portion was taxed. In reality, Philip used the entire amount for his work. Through all the years, changes in duties, Philip remained a steadfast presence beside Elizabeth. His journey into royal life was not easy. He had sacrificed much and adapted constantly, yet he always stood by his wife. Their story was not just about tradition and ceremony, but also about personal strength, loyalty, and quiet devotion. However, their life was not without controversy. In the 1950s, whispers began to circulate about an alleged affair between Prince Philip and a Russian ballerina. These rumors spread through royal circles and seeped into the British press, sparking curiosity and doubt. The woman at the center of the gossip was Galina Ulanova, a graceful and highly admired ballerina from the Soviet Union. She was celebrated not only for her talent on stage, but also for her poise and elegance. Her reputation extended far beyond Russia, and her name carried a mystique that made the story more compelling. Although no concrete evidence ever emerged to support the claims, the idea of such an affair captured public attention. The timing made the story particularly sensitive as Britain and the Soviet Union were navigating a delicate diplomatic relationship. The notion of Prince Philip being involved with a prominent Soviet figure added a layer of political tension. Some insiders speculated that the British government may have intervened to ensure the story did not gain traction, possibly to protect the royal family and avoid international embarrassment. If such a relationship had existed, it would not have only harmed the royal family. It could have raised serious national security concerns. The impact of the rumors was not confined to newspapers or gossip columns. They reportedly caused strain behind the closed doors of Buckingham Palace. According to some sources close to the royal household, Queen Elizabeth was deeply affected by the story. It was not just a matter of public image. It cut deeper, touching something personal and emotional. Even so, she remained silent. She did not respond or show her feelings, choosing to carry on with her role. This aligned with her calm and composed nature, especially in the face of controversy. She had learned to live with public speculation and often chose dignity over reaction. Prince Philip, for his part, never publicly addressed the rumors either. The silence from both sides only fueled public imagination. Not everyone believed the story. Some royal observers dismissed it as a fabrication designed to stir drama, but others saw it differently. They viewed it as a sign that Prince Philip, though loyal to his role, might have felt constrained by the formality and restrictions of royal life. These thoughts fed into the idea that he longed for something beyond ceremonial duties and endless protocols. Their son, Prince Andrew, stood firmly by his father. He always spoke of Prince Philip as a man of honor, someone who took his responsibilities seriously and valued his family above all else. His public statements defending his father never wavered. Still, his support was not enough to quell public curiosity. People continued to wonder, searching for answers that never came. The mystery never faded. It settled into the background of royal history like a shadow that never fully disappears. The story of the alleged affair, whether true or fabricated, highlighted the deeper struggles within Elizabeth and Philip's marriage. From the outside, they appeared strong and united. But like any long relationship, especially one lived under constant public scrutiny, Theirs had moments of stress and distance. While Elizabeth was known for her patience and ability to keep her emotions in check, those close to her noticed how certain events left a quiet mark on her. She rarely showed it, but that did not mean she was unaffected. Over time, it seemed the couple reached an understanding. They focused on their shared responsibilities, choosing to prioritize duty over personal wounds. Their relationship might not have been filled with endless joy, but it was steady. They stood by each other through major world events, family changes, and growing public pressure. Together, they built a partnership rooted not in perfection, but in loyalty and resilience. The rumor about the ballerina remained just one of many trials they faced. This phase became one of the most whispered stories in royal history. It showed how even those at the highest levels of society face human challenges, doubt, suspicion, and the need for trust. Their children reflected different facets of their parents' union. Princess Anne understood her father's restless spirit, while Prince Andrew remained loyal and protective. Their perspectives added depth to the story of Elizabeth and Philip, offering glimpses of the bigger picture. Despite all the rumors, silences, and uncertainties, Elizabeth and Philip stayed together. Their marriage was not perfect, but it endured. They shared a deep commitment to their roles, their country, and each other. Through decades of change, they chose to walk side by side, not because they had no other choice, but because they believed in the strength of their bond. Their story, shaped by public duty and private struggles, remains a powerful example of dedication in the face of life's many storms. In 2017, Prince Philip brought his long public life to a close by officially stepping away from royal duties at the age of 96. This marked the end of an era that had spanned decades. He had supported Queen Elizabeth II with strength and dedication, attending countless royal events and traveling extensively. But as age caught up with him, he decided it was time to slow down and enjoy a quieter private life. This decision led him to leave the bustling royal palaces and settle at Wood Farm. Wood Farm, a modest cottage on the Sandringham estate, was far less grand than the royal residences he had known most of his life. It was simple, surrounded by nature fields and the serene atmosphere of the countryside. For Prince Philip, this was exactly what he needed. He had always loved the outdoors and enjoyed working with his hands. At Wood Farm, he could paint, take long walks, and spend his days in peace. It was here, away from the constant attention and demands of public life, that he spent his final years. The decision to move to Wood Farm was made after careful consideration. Private discussions reportedly took place within the royal family to understand Philip's desires and how best to honor them. His daughter, Princess Anne, later shared that both her parents had accepted the arrangement. They had found a way to respect each other's needs while remaining close as a couple. The Queen continued her responsibilities in London, while Philip moved to the countryside to enjoy his retirement in his own way. Princess Anne made it clear that the move did not stem from any trouble in the marriage. It was simply a practical step that suited both at that stage in their lives. The Queen's position required her to remain at Buckingham Palace, deeply engaged in royal affairs. Prince Philip, on the other hand, valued privacy and relished freedom from ceremony. Their decision reflected the strength of their bond, built on decades of understanding, compromise, and shared duty. The arrangement allowed them to live the lives they needed without strain or unhappiness. Anne explained that her father had always been an independent spirit, preferring a less formal environment whenever possible, though the official narrative emphasized mutual understanding and personal preference. Some palace insiders hinted at other reasons behind Philip's move. These differing accounts have caused some confusion over the years. One suggestion was that he had grown weary of the strict rules and security measures at Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle. The presence of the Queen's Guard, with its constant routines and heavy protocol, may have felt too rigid for someone like Philip. He had never been fond of unnecessary formality and likely found the freedom at Wood Farm refreshing. While some sources claimed he left by choice, others quietly suggested that the pressures of royal life may have nudged him toward that decision. While the public image portrayed a calm and peaceful transition, the story behind the scenes might have been more complex. At times, even the royal family's statements seemed to shift slightly. Initially, the move was described as a simple matter of personal preference, a mutual agreement. Later, there were hints that the Queen's staff may have supported the idea of Philip stepping back, possibly to reduce friction and allow both royals to live more comfortably in their own environments. Princess Anne's words added a deeply human element to the story. She spoke of her father not just as a royal figure, but as a person with his own identity, separate from being the Queen's husband. He had a clear vision of how he wanted to be remembered as someone who had served faithfully, but remained true to himself. That wish seemed to guide his final years, spent in quiet reflection and surrounded by the things he loved. Even as rumors circulated, those close to the royal family emphasized how respectful and thoughtful the arrangement had been. There were no signs of bitterness or disagreement. Instead, it was a quiet decision made out of care for one another. Both Philip and the Queen had spent decades prioritizing their duties above all else. In this final chapter, they found a way to balance responsibility with personal comfort. The Queen continued to serve the crown, while Philip enjoyed his hard-earned rest in the countryside. Prince Philip's retirement and life at Wood Farm marked a graceful end to a remarkable journey. It showed that even those in the highest positions can seek simplicity, peace, and a place to call their own. His choice was not about leaving his family or abandoning duty. It was about embracing the final stage of life with dignity, honesty, and a strong sense of self. In doing so, he reminded the world that behind the crown was a man who simply wanted to enjoy the quiet beauty of the life he had earned. When the world began to shut down due to the pandemic in early 2020, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip quietly decided to reunite at Windsor Castle. This choice brought them back under the same roof after years of living apart. While the world faced fear and uncertainty, the Queen and Prince Philip found a peaceful moment of togetherness. They isolated together away from others. For a couple in the final stretch of their lives, this unexpected reunion became deeply meaningful. It gave them a chance to share daily life once again, reconnecting not just as monarchs but as husband and wife. Their children observed closely during this period. They noticed a new closeness forming between their parents, a connection that had softened with time. After years of living in separate homes, their mother and father were once again sharing meals, conversations, and long hours together. It felt like a return to something familiar, a reminder of the bond that had always existed, even when life and duty had pulled them apart. The reunion, though prompted by crisis, brought quiet joy to the royal family, a gentle reminder of the love that still remained. The reasons why Prince Philip had chosen to live separately in his later years were never fully explained. Whatever the reasons, the months they spent together at Windsor seemed to bridge the distance that had grown between them. As the final months of Prince Philip's life unfolded, a sense of peace seemed to settle around the couple. Their son Charles recalled the still moments they shared. Often they would simply sit together without speaking, letting the silence speak for itself. There was no need for words. Their long history was enough. Even as Prince Philip's health declined, he retained his dry humor and sharp mind. He continued to make the Queen smile, offering her comfort just by being there. Charles could see the deep respect they held for one another, even in the silence. They did not explain things or revisit past choices, but their actions showed a quiet acceptance. They had learned to honor each other's decisions, knowing that love does not always require explanations. Their marriage, spanning more than 7 decades, was never without struggle. Life in the public eye brought heavy responsibilities. Being part of the royal family meant constant pressure, always performing, always present. Yet through it all, Elizabeth and Philip remained side by side. Their bond was tested many times, but it endured. There were arguments, distance, and personal differences, but beneath it all was a strong partnership. Those close to them could see the strength in their connection. It was not always warm or open, but it was steady. It was built on shared values, a sense of duty, and a quiet devotion that held them together even when they were far apart. When Prince Philip passed away, the loss was deeply felt by the entire royal family. It was more than just the loss of a beloved family member. It marked the end of a generation, the closing of a long chapter. Prince Andrew spoke of the moment with profound emotion. There was sadness, of course, but also pride. His father had faced life with strength, and he had faced his end. The same way Princess Anne, who had always been close to her father, recalled their last conversation. He spoke clearly, even at the end. He told her how he wanted to be remembered. He asked for no mourning and only gratitude for the life he had lived. His words reflected a man who had accepted the end with calm dignity. He had always stayed connected to his family. Even when apart from them, the Queen and Prince Philip were married for 73 years. It was a partnership shaped by change, duty, and the demands of royal life. Yet through everything, they stood as one of the most iconic and admired couples in modern history. Their union was not perfect, but it was powerful. It showed the world what commitment could look like under the most challenging circumstances. They supported one another quietly without needing to prove anything. Their story became a symbol of endurance of a love that learned to adapt, bend, and survive. Princess Anne's candid revelations have opened a completely new perspective on the marriage between Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, a relationship not only filled with sweet moments, but also marked by silent sacrifices and unbridgeable distances. The decision to live apart, even if only for a time, was not due to coldness or betrayal, as many speculated, but stemmed from the invisible pressures weighing heavily on both of them. This story shows us that even the most seemingly perfect marriages face challenges and losses, and sometimes distance is the necessary test that makes love stronger over the years. What are your thoughts on these surprising revelations? Has your perception of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II changed? Share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on more fascinating stories about the British royal family that we will continue to explore with you.